Money is everywhere. You use it every day. You think you understand it. And yet, most people who earn money their entire lives still end up anxious, dependent, and financially fragile. Here's the strange part. This isn't because they're irresponsible. It isn't because they're lazy. And it isn't even because they earn too little. It's because almost everyone has been taught to use money in the wrong order. Not by accident, not recently, but systematically, over generations. If you want to understand why so many people feel like they're running faster but getting nowhere, you need to understand how the order of money quietly shapes destinies. Because throughout history, those who controlled the order controlled the future. For most people, money feels like a simple loop. You earn it, you spend it, you hope there's something left. And if there isn't, you tell yourself you'll fix it later when you earn more. But history tells us something unsettling. Every civilization that failed to manage money correctly didn't collapse because people stopped working. They collapsed because the sequence broke down. Long before money looked like paper or numbers on a screen, it had one purpose: survival. Around 3000 BCE in Mesopotamia, the earliest known financial records weren't about wealth or profit. They were about storage. Grain was counted, stored, protected. Families didn't wait to see what was left at the end of the season. They secured reserves first, then lived on the remainder. This wasn't philosophy. It was necessity. If protection failed, everything failed. What's rarely mentioned is that these early societies already understood a core financial truth. Money that isn't protected first will never be saved later. Thousands of years later, the Roman Empire applied the same logic, at scale. Roman soldiers were paid regularly, but not all of it reached their hands. A portion was withheld automatically, not as punishment, as protection. Rome knew that discipline imposed early prevented disaster later. Soldiers who survived their service with savings were rewarded with land, not charity, but strategy. A stable soldier made a stable empire. Those who spent first and planned later often ended their lives in debt, despite earning the same wages. Same income, different order, different outcome. As centuries passed, medieval Europe refined this idea further. Guilds, blacksmiths, masons, carpenters, didn't allow members to decide whether saving felt convenient. Saving was mandatory. If a craftsman failed to maintain reserves, he could be expelled from the guild, not because he was poor, but because he was considered dangerous. Financial instability wasn't seen as a private problem. It was a systemic risk. For most of history, money management wasn't optional. It was enforced, because the consequences were collective. Then came a turning point that quietly changed everything: the Industrial Revolution. People stopped producing for themselves and started selling their time. Wages replaced land. Factories replaced independence. For the first time in history, millions earned regular income, but owned nothing that could protect them if that income stopped. And slowly, the ancient order began to reverse. Instead of protect first, spend later, people were encouraged to spend first and worry later. At first, this shift was subtle. Then it became structural. After World War I, factories could produce more than people could afford to buy. The system had a problem. The solution wasn't higher wages, it was credit. In 1919, General Motors created GMAC, allowing Americans to buy cars on installment plans. This was revolutionary. You no longer needed the money first, you just needed the desire. Debt transformed from emergency tool into everyday habit. By the mid-20th century, this idea expanded beyond cars. Homes, appliances, education, lifestyle. Advertising didn't just sell products anymore, it sold identity. Psychologists were hired to ensure people felt incomplete without consumption. By the 1950s, marketers openly discussed their goal: to create permanent dissatisfaction. Not enough yet. Not secure yet. Not successful yet. The message was clear, even if it was never said aloud. Spend now, protect later. Grow someday, but someday rarely comes. This is where the modern money illusion takes hold. People believe income is the solution. If they earn more, everything will fix itself. History disagrees. From 1971 onward, productivity in the United States exploded. Workers produced more than ever before, but wages didn't rise at the same pace. Instead, spending filled the gap. Debt replaced savings. Hope replaced planning. Not because they're reckless, but because the system trained them to prioritize comfort before security. The order was reversed so thoroughly that many people don't even realize another order exists. They believe money management is about restraint, about sacrifice, about deprivation. In reality, it's about sequence. What happens first always wins. If spending comes first, it expands endlessly. If protection comes first, it compounds quietly. This isn't theory, it's arithmetic. Losing 30% requires a 43% gain to recover. One emergency without reserves can erase a decade of effort. And yet, modern life normalizes living exposed. No buffer, no margin, no room for error. Why? Because systems run on consumption. Savers slow economies. Planners create independence. And independence is inconvenient. During financial crises, households with emergency reserves are far less likely to default. They need fewer bailouts. They ask fewer questions. But instead of expanding financial education, it's often reduced. Because a population that understands money order becomes harder to control. This creates a quiet divide. Two people, same job, same income. One prioritizes protection, stability, and long-term growth. The other prioritizes lifestyle, image, and immediate comfort. History shows us this pattern repeatedly. Empires fell when reserves vanished. Families collapsed when spending outran protection. Nations destabilized when debt replaced discipline. And yet, every generation is told the same comforting lie: just earn more. But earning more without changing the order only increases the scale of the problem. More income simply allows bigger mistakes. The uncomfortable truth is this: money has never been about how much you make. It has always been about what comes first. The ancients understood it instinctively. Institutions enforced it deliberately. The modern world quietly erased it, not out of malice, but out of convenience. And now, millions are left wondering why stability feels so far away, despite working harder than ever. So the real question isn't how to get rich. It's whether your financial life is built on protection or exposure. Because whatever you place first doesn't just shape your bank account, it shapes your future. If you want to understand money beyond headlines and textbooks, consider subscribing to MoneyLens Media. Because history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes.